Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Monday, the 23rd day of February in the year 2026. This is a City Council caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council, which is being held virtually due to our blizzard that we had, and we're still trying to dig out of this. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. start. The clock on my computer is showing 4:03 p.m. May I have a roll call for the commencement of this caucus? Councilperson Brooks.
Present.
Councilperson Zupa.
I'm here.
Councilperson Efros.
Present.
Councilperson Little.
Present.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Present.
Councilperson Singh.
I'm here.
Councilperson Griffin.
Here.
Councilperson Lavaro.
Barely.
Was that Councilperson Lavaro?
I said barely here.
Okay. I thought it was you. And Council President Ridley.
Here.
All right, we have all 9 council members in attendance at 4:03 p.m. On behalf of Council President Ridley and the members of the Municipal Council, in accordance with New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall, the annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2026, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. In addition, at the time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, February 20th, 2026 at 7:31 p.m. to the Mayor, Municipal Council, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council President, I know that you had sent out an email with regards to how we're going to proceed during this virtual meeting. I am sharing my screen. Can everybody see the agenda on their screen?
Yes.
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 I heard a no. So depending on what device you have, I am sharing the screen and I can scroll through it. I'm going to go right to the first reading ordinances. Is that correct, Council President? You want me to take it right from the top?
Yes. In order to help this meeting move smoothly, since we are virtual and we have not done this in a while, I'm going to ask that Sean starts from the top of the agenda and we work our way down. Council members, please let him read the item. Please let the director, or if there's anyone presenting it, the BA, explain it, and then wait for me to call for questions before we start with questions, just so we can keep it orderly on the virtual meeting.
Thanks so much, Council President. And again, just a reminder, just like the Council President said, if we have people talking at the same time, we're not going to be able to be heard. So if we can just hold the questions until the Council President will ask any council members if they have questions, that would be fantastic. So with that being said, item 3.1, City Ordinance 26-009 is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 160, Fees and Charges.
Okay. And do we have anyone presenting on 3.1 or BA?
I believe we do have ATDC members here, but we are going to withdraw this one to a future meeting. There's some questions that council members sent in, and we just make sure they're addressed before we vote on it.
Okay. We can move to the next one, Sean.
Okay. I'm just trying to navigate through my computer. Okay, next is item 3.2, City Ordinance 26-010 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, amending Section 332-5, one-way streets on Franklin Street between Palisade Avenue and Central Avenue.
Good afternoon,
We should have
Council President.
Acting Director
council members.
Banghauser.
This is Acting Director Drew Banghart from Infrastructure. Here to present this along with my colleague Lindsay Schofield. This is, part of a grant project that we applied for back in 2022, I believe it was, to create a new bikeway along Franklin Street. Originally, this project contemplated going all the way down to Tunnelly Avenue, and just through community feedback and work with our colleagues here in the city, Manhattan Avenue was removed from the project, so now we're focused solely on Franklin Street.
Okay, council members, any questions? I know that Councilman Zupa and Councilman Efros did have a community meeting regarding these changes on Franklin Street. So I'm open to any questions or comments at this time on 3.2.
This is Council. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
You sure?
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, this is Councilman Efros. Thank you, Director Banghart. I just wanted to see if there was any update on conversation between public safety and/or fire and infrastructure since the community meeting we held last week. We'd just love to hear if there was any conversation and any discussion on mitigating any of the concerns that were brought up at that meeting.
Yes, we did meet with representatives from the fire department, proactively working together to move this project forward. There were some response time comments brought up at that meeting, and we're working on some minor edits that will help speed up those response times. It may remove a couple parking spaces out near Stop and Shop, and we've also committed to just a whole approach to harden off some curb intersections so that people aren't parking too close to the intersections, which will reduce response times in this area and, throughout the region of the Heights. So that's something we did commit to with the fire department. I do believe Deputy Chief Hart is on the call as well, and I apologize that I'm not on video, but it makes things a little weird. But yes, we're working with them on, addressing those concerns. And we did take a look at some of the studies they provided, and I think, we're moving forward with working with them.
And Councilman, the Infrastructure Department and Fire Department also prepared a comprehensive memo that I sent out. I do not believe Sean had a chance to distribute it yet to the council, but you will have that, I'm sure, as soon as this caucus meeting is ended.
Okay, I appreciate that. I also wanted to ask if we have Director Hart or Deputy Chief, Hart on the call. We had some neighbors take a look at the study that fire had done, actually, and a neighbor suggested some decreased response times could come from using not the Summit Avenue engine, but up on Palisade instead, that with the proposed improvements on Franklin Street, using that engine instead could reduce the estimated response times as opposed to Summit. I'm just curious if that was already taken into account in the study or in conversation since then, if you have any thoughts on that.
So we'll get Director, Deputy Chief Hart on the line.
Can you hear me, Sean?
Yes, you're on the air.
So, yep. So with the GIS mapping done from that initial study, 715 Summit Avenue is the closer house to probably the western side of Central and Franklin, where the house you're referencing, engine 14 and ladder 7 coming from Palisade and Congress, although it's a straight shot, it's a little bit further away. So the way our dispatch system works, the dispatch is the closest, and obviously we were trying to work very closely with infrastructure. We took a look at the response times for all rigs, all apparatus during that pilot period. And we did note an uptick of approximately a minute for at least 2 or 3 of the addresses. Not quite as bad as what the study showed. So there is a difference. It is a minute. And obviously we met with infrastructure on Friday, discussing some of the measures that perhaps would help increase or decrease our response times, which again, some of the curb bump outs to prevent double parked cars are always an issue that we have, responding especially after hours when people are desperate to find parking spots. The removal of some of the parking spaces potentially could have an impact, although we typically don't drive against traffic. So obviously we would have preferred to maybe have a pilot to see how those proposed changes would make a difference. But again, I'd just like to highlight that there was somewhat of a significant increase in response times based on this proposal of approximately 1 minute.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm just curious if there's any way we could, even though one engine might be by just raw distance a bit farther, if we can see decreased response times even from a technically farther one. I'd be curious if that can be. I understand you have the GIS system. I don't pretend to be an expert here, but we had some neighbors who are emergency service responders themselves reach out about this exact suggestion. So I just wanted to put that on the radar if it weren't already on your radar. I appreciate that infrastructure and fire are discussing this, and we can have a kind of coherent and unified voice around the Franklin Street improvements before we go vote on them on Wednesday. But Councilman Zupa, I know you have some questions too. I don't want to hog the whole session here.
No, thank you. Director Hart, the response times that were in the study performed, those are still below the national average for fire department response times of a city of our size. Is that fair to say?
They're in the range. I'll put it that way. They're in the range of the response times. We have an excellent response time in Jersey City.
I was going to say, and that goes no doubt to how great our department is, and thank you for that. And then my other question was for Director Banghart, if he's still on the call.
Yes, I'm here.
Director, the question that came from the community to me was, it was more of a congestion issue. And my question to you then is, has any thought been given to switching Manhattan Avenue, the small section of Manhattan Avenue between Central and Palisade, west to east instead of east to west? Just because if you're driving north on Central, you'll have 2 east to west streets in a row, and that was a concern that was raised. So you may not have done that. It was a question posed by a neighbor or by a resident. I'm just curious and trying to find some solutions to some of the concerns we're hearing.
Yeah, as part of this project, that was not contemplated.
Is there, okay, as follow-up, is there anything that you could point to that would in the next few weeks that would tell us one way or another whether that would alleviate some of the congestion going northbound on Central or well, even southbound on Central too?
Yeah, we could take a look at that, with the transportation team and the traffic engineers and see what the results would be if that change was made.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Councilman Efros and I are most concerned about public safety, that being not only our fire response times, but also pedestrian and cyclist safety and driving safety too. But the next level under that would be the congestion, any congestion that's caused, trying to alleviate that the best we can.
Okay, we'll look into that, and I'll get all the results back to you and the rest of the council.
Thank you.
Council President, this is Councilman Navarro. If,
Okay.
Councilman Zupa is done, can I chime in?
Yes, please.
Councilman Zupa, you're good?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. So Mr. Banghart, if you can walk me through this a little bit, because I'm a newly elected official, and just want to better understand how we got to the decision and the ordinance that's being before us today that proposes to make this a one-way street. And assume that I know nothing. I mean, yes, I served in city council, but the last 4 years have not been tuned into that. So please explain it to me as to what sort of thinking went into that, if there were any plans, whether it be the bike master plan or other master plans that might have figured into that, into ultimately making the decision to designate Franklin Street as this corridor for the one-way street.
Sure, no problem. I think the memo that was alluded to earlier will help clear things up too. But yeah, as you mentioned, the city's bike master plan was used to help determine this as a major east-west portion of that network, as opposed to other streets that really didn't offer the same level of service to just the business district of Central Avenue, Stop and Shop, some of the groceries that are over on Palisade, the parks that are accessible from Franklin Street. So that's why Franklin Street was identified along with Manhattan Avenue in the beginning of the grant application process. There was in June of 2024 a pilot study done, which essentially put that one way into place so that we could identify, any issues, observe traffic, and see what they would do to the overall corridor. Then we held community meetings after the fact to gauge, what was liked, what was disliked, what improvements could be made. And as part of that, the Manhattan portion of the project was very challenging to get consensus to move forward with that. So we worked with the DOT to revise the grant scope and identified Franklin as being where we wanted to apply the grant monies to. And from there, we developed the construction plans that we are very close to submitting to them for authorization to bid, and led us to hosting the meeting last Wednesday with the council members at PS8 to get some more feedback on that new scope.
If you can, and you don't have to do it here, I think it'd probably be challenging with the virtual format today, but I have a bike master plan in front of me. If you can be offline, clarify for me where this action falls within the bike master plan in terms of fulfilling either the goals or the actions or any of the strategic initiatives outlined in that bike master plan.
Sure, I can get that together. I do have Lindsay on the line who might be able to put that into words, at least for the time being, and we could certainly follow up after that with some more detail.
Sure.
Yeah, Director, if you could, if Lindsay can, that's great. But Director, if you could circulate that link to the bike master plan to everyone so everyone will understand what Councilman Navarro is looking at, and then kind of detail for us in that email where it is. But Lindsay, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much, Council President. Yes, the bike master plan does call for a connected network of bikeways that will serve all ages and abilities. So the protected bike lane network is a really important component of that. We find that there are a lot of people in the city who would like to ride their bike more often, ride their bikes to schools or parks or transit or shopping, but they won't make that trip unless they feel comfortable and safe. And so that's where we, through the bike master plan, identified a core network of streets that would serve as the protected bike lane sort of spine and be connected by more local low stress routes. So actually in the bike master plan, there is a map that includes the city's vision for the complete bikeway network. And so actually in that plan, you'll see Manhattan Avenue and Franklin Street as the primary east-west corridor that had been identified for the Heights, for all the reasons that Drew already mentioned, things like connections to parks and schools and shopping, and also because it will connect several north-south protected bike lanes that are envisioned in the overall master plan, and that connects back into the network throughout the city. And what we do think is that the Franklin Street, even on its own, as its own project on its own, it does still provide a lot of that connection to Pershing Field Park and PS8 and the 87 bus stop and other stops on Palisade Avenue, as well as that neighborhood retail. But happy, of course, to share the full master plan and how this fits into it.
I know you mentioned, this is Rolando still. Someone talking? I know you mentioned there's a memo forthcoming that Peter sent to the city clerk that we'll be getting, and maybe it already is inclusive in that, but if there are any, besides the study on the response times, if there are any other traffic studies related to this redesign, as well as any presentation materials that you may have had, whether it be the last community meeting or community meetings before this, leading up to this, I would like to get copies of that.
Certainly, we'll share all that. There's a website dedicated to the project as well with a lot of information, so we can circulate all that.
Hey, Councilman Gilmore, Drew. What's the status on the actual grant? I know, like, we had it, then it was postponed, then they got another extension. What's the actual status of the grant?
The grant with the DOT is still active. We do have a deadline coming up of June 11th where we're supposed to award a construction contract for the project by that time. So, you know, we still need to go to DOT with the final plans, which we're gonna, you know, tweak a little bit with the fire department and get those approved for bidding, advertised for bid, and, you know, hopefully get a successful contractor in that time frame to award a construction contract. We did go through a couple rounds of extensions of the grant based on just some utility work in the area, and then the scope changes that we were talking about a little earlier today. And it's a total of 3 extensions. I don't know if the appetite to go again might start to jeopardize the grant, but right now we're in good standing.
Okay. Now, what about the actual architectural plans?
The design plans?
Yes, I know we had, I think we voted on a contract to have them started and completed.
Yes, so that's still, you know, still working through that contract. That's what's being used to finalize these design plans and then submit them to the DOT.
Now, there's not going to be any extra associated costs eclipsing the amount we agreed on, right?
As of now, no. We are, you know, secure in that funding, and we haven't been approached about any extra costs. The changes should be pretty minor, so I don't foresee it.
Okay.
This is Councilman Lavarro again. So piggybacking on Councilman Gilmore's questions. So there's a grant associated with this. We've been awarded the grant. Is that, again, I'm not privy to all of this. So if you can fill me in.
Sorry, Councilman. Yes, there's a grant for $670,000. It's a NJDOT Bikeways grant from fiscal year 2023. And those grants are specifically for the DOT's or the state's goal of creating at least 1,000 new miles of dedicated bikeway that actually have a physical separation from motorized traffic.
And is this just part of that, or is this the entirety of the grant?
The entirety of the $670,000 will fund the construction of the project, if that's what you're asking.
That is what I'm asking. So it's the 670,000 is going directly to this Franklin Street project.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct. No local match either on this type of grant.
Right. And we have a deadline of sometime June to spend these dollars or draw down on them?
Yeah, June 11th is to award a construction contract. So, once we receive bids, we'll, hopefully be back in front of you to present that to award a construction contract, and that fulfills the DOT's timeline. It doesn't necessarily mean that the project needs to draw down funds at that date. It just needs to be awarded by then.
No. I have no further questions.
Okay, any other council members have any questions on 3.2?
Just want to ask Councilman Tom Zupa and Jake Afros, was there any other concern other than response time and congestion? Any major concern when you guys had this town hall?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing we heard was about the response times, and then throughout the week, and I'm sure Councilman Efros can speak to this as well.
Can everyone please
hold on,
mute themselves
hold on,
if you're
hold
not
on.
speaking?
If you're not speaking, please put your device on mute, because if you're not on mute, we can hear the noise in the background and it's interrupting the council members when they're trying to speak. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. So during the meeting, the primary concern that was shared with, at least to me, I believe to Councilman Efros too, was the response time, which I know both Department of Infrastructure and Public Safety are working on resolving. And then during the week, I heard people voice their concerns about congestion in the area.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hi, Councilman Griffin here. So what is the timeline for construction? Like, how long will the construction last, and what will the residents be dealing with up there?
So the construction and based on, when we would award it, if it is awarded in the beginning of summer, would start sometime towards the fall of this year. And that would likely, push into the spring of the following year for final pavement and things like that, where we might be working with temperatures too cold for paving towards the end of this year. A lot of this is, pavement and updates of the striping, essentially. So there will be some concrete curb islands or pedestrian islands, bump outs, if you will, constructed in that. So that'll be the first part of construction. But, knowing that this corridor with the school is here, the daily routine would likely be to not start until after drop off, and then, finish up work before drop off starts, and modify that along the way as we need to.
Okay, and then as far as it being protected bike lanes, are we looking at putting some materials there as barriers, or will there be the parking spaces where the cars actually protect the bike lane?
It will be parking protected, and then there will also be a buffer strip with flexible delineators placed in that buffer area. So along with the parking stalls protecting it, there will also be that buffer strip just to allow, normal operation of somebody getting in and out of their car. You don't want a door swing, right into the bike lane.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. President, I have one more question. Oh,
Okay,
for Mr.
Councilman.
President. Drew, just two things. The bike master plan, the one I'm referencing and looking at is September 2019. If we have a more recent or amended versions, if you could share that with me. And then also just on Vision Zero, again, I don't know if this is in your purview. If not, then to Peter Horton and the BA. Would like to get a copy of the Vision Zero and kind of where that's at and kind of where we are. That's what's driving all of these changes, right? The goal of trying to improve safety for pedestrians and cyclists and drivers. So if I could get that information as well as to where, if we have the latest Vision Zero plan, as well as any updates on kind of where we are with regard to meeting any sort of metrics as it pertains to Vision Zero.
Okay, we'll get you that information for sure.
Thanks.
Okay. Next one, Sean.
Sorry. Next, item 3.3, City Ordinance 26-011 is an ordinance authorizing the City of Jersey City as tenant to extend for a 2-year lease with 18 Ash Street Realty as landlord for space located at 46 State Street, Jersey City.
Thank you, Sean. I'll be covering this one for the administration. This is a lease that we've had, for a considerable amount of time with the city. It's related to the fire department. Specifically, we use the facility to store a numerous amount of fire equipment that's used in auxiliary operations and replenishment for the numerous firehouses throughout the city. As Sean stated, this is a 2-year lease. It will cost us approximately $105,000 for the entire year, and we have encumbered the funds to accommodate that as needed.
Hey, Peter, it's
Any
Councilman
questions?
Gilmore. Yes, what is the end goal? I mean, we built a new public safety building. We've been leasing this spot for some time now. Is there not room in a public safety building?
There is not. This is predominantly more storage, almost like a warehouse type facility that has a lot of the backup apparatus and devices that the firehouse uses. I think we have Lauren Hart that's still on the call that can answer specifically what's stored there. But these are more bulkier items that would not fit or be appropriate for the public safety building.
So what's the ultimate end goal? We gonna continue to lease it every year for $100,000 because at 10 years it's $1 million.
Understood. So the under goal is to potentially lease it until we can find the appropriate space. We do have a numerous amount of firehouses that are under construction right now. So the goal would be, as the new firehouses come online, to the extent the old firehouses are available, we'll try to shift equipment to those firehouses to the extent possible. I don't know if we would completely be able to store all the equipment at the moment there. So we may have to look to future sites or locations to store this equipment permanently. But there's a large amount of equipment stored at the Ash Street location.
Okay, I mean, I just want the record to reflect that, I am concerned. Hello?
Yep, we can hear you, Councilor.
I am concerned with the fact that us continuing just to lease, just from a financial standpoint, because again, 10 years is $1 million. We understand that this apparatus is essential to our fire safety and things of that nature, but I'm just trying to figure out in a world where the city have access and actually JCRA have properties, like what point do we look at having a conversation of, bringing this stuff in-house? So I just wanted to put that on the record.
Understood. Thank you, Councilman.
If I can,
Councilman,
this is
it's Deputy Chief Hart.
Hold on, guys.
Okay.
We need to speak one at a time. So is this going to be Deputy Chief Hart?
Yeah, let's let Deputy Chief Hart respond, and then we'll go to the next council person.
Thank you, Council
Thank you, and
President.
Thank you, and I apologize. Councilman Gilmore, that is almost like a large warehouse, as Peter Horton described. We currently have 6 pieces of apparatus stored there. So it's not like we have a firehouse anywhere in the city currently that can accommodate even breaking those pieces up into different locations. We are strapped for space. Most of the apparatus there is either waiting to be repaired or on standby for when of our apparatus breaks down. There's not sufficient space at the Linden Avenue repair facility to store those pieces of apparatus indoors. And obviously with the weather being what it is and how the elements deteriorate our apparatus, we do our best to keep them out of the elements. So in an ideal world, I would say you're 1,000% correct. It would be great if the city can purchase or obtain a piece of property that we could store these pieces of equipment without paying expensive leases. I think we started this lease process in 2011. And we've actually shopped around to see if we can find any properties that the city could perhaps purchase. But for right now, this is just serving as a tremendous opportunity for us to keep our apparatus relatively close to the repair shop when we have to go switch them out as apparatus is being repaired or for spare apparatus.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Hart. This is Councilman Efros. If I can just jump in, I want to, of course, acknowledge the importance of being able to warehouse this equipment, sharing the concerns of Councilman Gilmore in terms of the rent we're paying as opposed to owning it outright. Just one additional thing caught our eye. It looks like in addition to rent, we pay an annual sum of nearly $10,000. Which is approximately 40% of the 2026 real property taxes for the building there. Can I get an explanation as to why we're paying 40% of the property taxes on top of to the landlord?
My understanding is that the terms of the lease are that it's a triple net lease, and part of that negotiated term is that the leasee is responsible for all aspects of the building. I guess that includes a percentage of the taxes.
That is correct.
What is the avenue for renegotiating this lease in the financial situation our city's in? I would love to be able to continue to have our fire department be able to use this space, but I'm a little surprised to see that that's part of this lease.
It's essentially additional rent, so it functions the same. Whether it's $105,000 flat or $90,000 plus the cost of the taxes or percent of the taxes. We have negotiated and tried to negotiate different locations, as well as trying to get a reduction in the rent here. And Ash Street, to their defense, has been very accommodating to us and has not really raised the rent astronomically for the city. So they have been very fair to us. But when we've looked for other properties, the challenge here too is that because of the weight of the apparatus, it's not like a normal warehouse or normal location you can stair this equipment. They have to have deep foundations and footings that can accommodate this. So unfortunately, we're very limited with the access, the ports to drive the equipment into. They have to have a certain dimensions, and the foundations have to have a certain structural integrity in order to support this. So even if we were to shop around for different warehouses, we are somewhat limited to what we can do with this equipment.
I have a question if everyone else is done.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you. Chief or Peter, it looks like the original lease was for 14,500 square feet. Did we decrease our footing there over time? The reason I asked is because the original lease was for significantly more annual money too. So just looking for the current status of how much space we're taking up.
Yeah, over time we've changed our footprint depending on if we had a firehouse that was down and had to store equipment into. We've tried to expand or decrease to coincide with the least minimum equipment that could be stored there.
All right, so it looks like in 2019 we were paying $255,000 a year, and now we're down to $196,000.
I believe that's correct. I'd have to double check the exact figures.
All right, and the only thing that didn't change, I guess, over time would have been the percentage of the property tax that the city's paying.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Councilman Griffin here. Deputy Chief Hart, what exactly are we storing at this facility?
Like I stated earlier, I was in there last week. We have 3 engines. We have 1
Okay.
truck. We have 1, what they call a UASI. It's a specialized rescue vehicle that's only taken out for mass injuries where there's incidents where you have a major collapse. And we also have a collapse rescue truck. Also stored there is a lot of our rescue equipment.
Okay.
And obviously, this time of year, we do have some space in that building to set up some of our mock training evolutions to practice out of the elements. So a few months ago, we had somebody on the Pulaski Skyway who was about to jump. We have a piece of apparatus that we can set up to help rescue that person. So just for our members to be able to train there out of the elements, you know, during times of inclement weather. But that's a very small portion of what we utilize
Right.
the facility for. Like I said, basically,
So-
there's no storage on Linden Avenue for any of these pieces of apparatus that are either waiting to be repaired or that have been repaired but is considered part of our spare fleet.
So this is
It's a
essentially
massive garage with, yes,
multi-purpose space, training,
Correct.
storage equipment. Okay.
mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Just a reminder, just a reminder, everyone, just make sure that we're giving everybody the time to speak. We can't, you know, speak over each other because then it becomes mumbo jumbo to the members of the public. Sorry.
No problem, Sean. Any other questions on 3.3? Okay, hearing none, we can move on, Sean.
Okay, 3.4, City Ordinance 26-012 is an ordinance amending Chapter 53 Personnel, Article 2, Fixed Salaries to modify fixed salaries for certain employees.
Sean, the administration will be withdrawing this ordinance for this council meeting as further discussions go on between the administration and the council.
Okay. I'm sorry, Council President. I was just going to mark the agenda to reflect that. All right. So we won't take any questions on that since we're going to be withdrawing that.
Correct.
And on to our last ordinance, which will be a late item, which will require the council to vote on. And 6 votes will need to place it on the agenda. And it's item 3.5, City Ordinance 26-013 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 8, Permit Parking, amending Section 332-58, Parking Restrictions in Residential Zones, to establish a new permit parking Zone 20 for streets adjacent to the Liberty State Park, Hudson Bergen Light Rail Station, east of Pacific Avenue.
And I'll let, if Director Banghart is still on, I'll let him jump in and explain, but this is an ordinance that we requested some time ago when the light rail stations first stopped the overnight parking. So the goal was to mirror the current parking situation around the other light rail stops that are in the ward and add that same zone to the area around Liberty State Park, Hudson Bergen Light Rail Stop. The New Jersey Transit still doesn't allow overnight parking. We are hoping that it will be back sometime next month, but as of now, the parking situation in that area is extremely hectic, and we are looking to get a handle on it. So, Director, I don't know if you're still on and want to add anything.
Thank you, Council President. Still here, and yes, if maybe just to describe the area contemplated, it would essentially be east of Pacific Avenue and bound by Municipal on the south and Ash and Johnston on the north, and then down to the Hudson Bergen Light Rail, or even the Municipal extension, if you know it as that. That's the new Zone 20 limits in the ordinance, and it would be a 4-hour parking limit without a permit, Monday through Saturday.
Council members, any questions?
Hi, this is Councilmember Joel Brooks, Ward B. I know this is this was a plan that was drawn up prior to this year. Council President mentioned that. Is anything analogous available for the West Side Ave, Hudson Bergen Light Rail Station area? Has anything been commissioned?
Not to my knowledge, Councilman. We can certainly start to take a look at that, you know, with your office and with you, if that's something you want to pursue.
Yeah, we will. We'll get in touch with you offline. We've had similar parking apocalypse over there to what Bergen Lafayette is experiencing by Liberty State Park, and 3 Acres just increased their parking fees and added a valet. So putting more cars on the street potentially, but we will reach out to you. Thank you, Director Bankhart.
Okay, yeah, I'll do a deeper dive too in my office. You know, since the traffic engineer left, there may be something out there that I don't know about. So I'll talk to staff and see if there was something started there. And I do just want to point out these ordinances are meant that if you do have off-street parking available in a building, the permits are usually not issued, to my knowledge. So anyone who's got off-street parking would be forced to kind of pay those higher fees. I just wanted to point that out since you did bring that up.
Thank you. Clarifying the last question for me. If there are only certain number of spots in a building, but more units than spots permitted, would that resident then be able to, if a resident, if they could show that there was no parking available in their building, would they be eligible for a zone permit, or is that a longer conversation?
No, yes, if there's no available parking at that time, then they can produce, you know, a letter from management of the building or something similar, then they would be able to apply and receive a zone parking permit if parking on site, you know, exceeds what spaces they have available.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Councilman Griffin here. I'm just curious to know why 4 hours and not 2?
There's
For the zone parking.
yeah, that was worked out to my knowledge, and Council President, correct me if I'm wrong, you worked that out with Director Wong when she was here on the timing. There are certainly other zone parking areas within the city. Some have 2-hour limits, some have 3. It just may have been in this area more beneficial to have the 4-hour limit.
I believe we just, Director Wong just used what was currently in place around the Danforth and Richard Street light rails and just transferred it over. In addition, there are some restaurants and businesses in the areas on the bottom of the building, so we want to leave sufficient time for people to handle business.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions? Okay.
Alrighty. Let me just make sure this is a little larger. All right, on to our second reading ordinances. First, second reading ordinance, item 4.1, City Ordinance 26-004. This was carried over from the February 11th meeting. This is an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of Block 11612, Lot 3, more commonly known by the street address of 95 Morgan Street, from 95 Morgan Street Development LLC.
I just want to share with my council colleagues, I did receive the environmental report for this between last meeting and this meeting. I have not finished reviewing it yet. It's 5,000 pages long, but it does appear from an initial skim that, you know, while there may have been environmental events in the site in the past, they, you know, they did some testing and didn't find anything currently, other than historic fill, which is to be expected for this area. Historic fill basically means it used to be a river and they just put like rubble to build up the land, which they did for much of downtown Jersey City, like hundreds of years ago. So I will finish reviewing it before the council meeting, and I'm also happy to share with any of my council colleagues who would like to review it on their own. But I will, you know, I can touch base individually with anyone prior to the council meeting as well.
Councilperson, this is the BA. I would just add that if there's anything that's redacted or information that you think is missing, feel free to reach out to the law department. Sarah, you know, spoke to me, and so he's happy to assist and arrange any kind of meeting or any conversation if there's information that you think should be added.
Hold on, BA, I'm sorry. There's someone in the background that's speaking, and we have to make sure that we're muting our devices. If we're not speaking, please make sure your device is muted, please. Sorry, BA, please continue.
Yeah, so just to recap, Councilperson, if there's any information you think is missing or something that needs to be elaborated upon, feel free to reach out to the law department. They've already communicated to me that they're happy to assist you and would make that connection with the owner of the property to, you know, assuage any issues that there might be there.
Thank you so much. I was under the impression, I also spoke with the owner of the property as well. They reached out, and it seems like the report was for 95 Morgan and a separate adjacent address, and they redacted the parts that were not relevant to 95 Morgan, was my understanding. Okay. Is that your understanding as well?
That's what's conveyed to me. But again, you know, I don't want to speak for the law department, so if there's any changes or anything, I'm happy to connect, you know, the two of you to make sure they have their you know, satisfactory for you to vote.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can I pose a question? This is Councilman Navarro. To the administration, I appreciate, and Councilwoman Little, appreciate you raising the question and of environmental contamination. Did we? Who is this report commissioned by? And do we have anyone in-house besides the councilwoman who's certifying or attesting to the fact that it's a valid report?
If you ask if we have an expert in environmental studies or, you know, science, I don't think we have anyone in-house. We have a sustainability team that does have credentials around that, but the law department has verified that it is a valid and certified report from an expert.
BA, I am so sorry again. There is someone that does not have their device on mute, and we're hearing background noises. If we can just make sure if we're not speaking that your device is on mute. I do appreciate your cooperation. Thank you. Sorry, BA.
No problem. Was that enough, Councilman, or did you have more questions about that?
So it's validated by the law department, this report?
Yeah. They attested that it's a certified and valid environmental study. We do not have an in-house expert that, you know, has the latest certification, I think, in environmental science. But we do have a sustainability team that has a background in that area that could opine on anything if you have specific questions.
No, I mean, look, I'm not an expert in this. I certainly defer to the councilwoman who is an expert on these matters. So I'm just curious if we ourselves have are looking at these once these situations come forward. So does the ordinance itself stipulate in there in any way that that we are certifying that it's free of contamination or anything like that?
I don't think the ordinance itself does, but it would be treated as a regular closing. And generally through closing documents, they provide the environmental land study, the studies and soil tests and that kind of stuff that we can rely on at the closing to ensure that there wouldn't be anything that would, be prohibited to the city taking on that land or obtaining that land through the sale.
Okay. And then my last question in regard to this is you may have answered this in the previous meetings on this subject, but in accepting this property, if the city were to accept it, if the council approves to accept the property, what's the plan or intent to use for the property?
So I don't think there's any specific plans drawn up currently. The land is, I think, currently utilized by the Boys and Girls Club, if I'm not mistaken. So, I think there'd be a conversation with them just as far as their utilization. There was also discussion about potentially putting a, mini park or a playground or something to that effect. The lot is very small, so you're kind of limited in what you can put there or utilize there. But I don't think there's a specific plan in place right now. And there's more just a commitment to develop a plan with the community to find the best utilization for that plot of land.
There is a community garden in that area right now, and Boys and Girls was maintaining that.
And to clarify for anyone concerned about a community garden in a potentially contaminated area, it is not in the soil. It is paved, and then the community garden is in planters on top of that. I also want to say for the record that I am an environmental engineer. This site remediation is not my area of expertise. So I have taken college courses on this, but it was a while ago, and I don't practice in this area specifically. Rolando, you called me an expert, so I needed to.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put too much on you there.
Any other questions?
Just one. Am I correct by saying that this property is in a collapse zone?
What do you mean collapse zone? Like from the adjacent properties?
Yeah, like like is anything near it that's in danger of collapsing or
not to my knowledge.
Any abandoned properties, anything like that? Okay.
Yeah, to my knowledge, there's no imminent risk of collapse or any structural, integrity issues or any buildings adjacent to it. And, obviously, if there were any, we would not encourage the community to have a garden there or allow public access, whether it be a private property or public property.
Any other questions? Okay, Sean, we can go to the next one.
Okay, just give me a moment to share my screen. All right. Next, item 4.2, City Ordinance 26-006 is an ordinance authorizing the use of up to 3% of payroll taxes collected to be used on administrative expenses and a waiver of entities subject to an out-of-state payroll tax in accordance with recent changes to New Jersey law.
Questions?
Yeah, just a question about broader question about payroll taxes. Can we just get some information to the city council about what our payroll tax collections have been over the last 5 years?
Yes, we'll compile that for you, Councilman.
Peter, please send it to me too.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll send it to the clerk so you can distribute to the entire council.
Will do, as soon as I receive it.
And I believe we owe Councilman Brooks some information about excluded properties as well that they've yet to produce, but I'll work on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Sean.
Whoops. Okay, just give me 1 second. All right. Next is item 4.3, City Ordinance 26-007, is a franchise ordinance granting permission to Avenir Westside Square LLC for the installation of a lit protective bollard at lot 30.01 in block 9301, qualifier 1, also known as 1075 Westside Avenue, into the right-of-way.
Questions? Okay, Sean.
Okay, hearing none. And the last second reading ordinance, item 4.4, City Ordinance 26-008, is an ordinance of the Jersey City Municipal Council amending the Jersey City Land Development Ordinance, Chapter 345, Article 1, Section 6, Definitions, Chapter 345, Article 5, Section 62, Residential Design Standards, and Chapter 345, Article 5, Section 63, Non-Residential Design Standards. I believe this is also known as the bird ordinance.
I am on the meeting in case you have any questions, but I do know that last week our planners already presented this. This is Tanya. Yeah.
Director, can you just give us an update as to, I guess, where this has landed? I know we discussed questions about 2 and 3 family homes and the height and things of that nature. So can you just reiterate where we are with all of that at this point?
Sure. I haven't been a part of any of those conversations. I know that they were had, but I believe that they were had without city planning, as in the council people were having those conversations off the record. We weren't instructed to change the ordinance at all, but I only heard through other people that there was a conversation regarding a change in thresholds and potentially a change in height for the requirements. And what I mean by the threshold is the amount of square footage. We have triggers in our ordinance that if your property or project is more than 5,000 square feet, you go under certain review, which is minor site plan, and above 10, which is major. I believe the ordinance as it stands right now is for everything. And there was a question about, I believe, raising the threshold.
Yeah, so I could speak to that. I coordinated with Sophia from your department. And yeah, our intention is to amend it so that it only applies to projects 5,000 square feet or greater. This is in line with what we heard from Cameron and Sophia about the possibility of, your department's bandwidth, right? We don't want to give you something that's totally unenforceable. And it seemed like this 5,000 square feet, which includes both major and minor site plan review, was a reasonable standard. Was the information I got from Cameron and Sophia, but definitely happy if you feel otherwise, I'm happy to hear that.
That's fine. I would just question on process if that's a change to the amendment. I don't believe it's substantial, but I am not the corporation counsel, so I can't weigh in on that.
We did ask corporation counsel, and so there was that, and then there was also the potentially amending the height to 85 feet, which is 10 feet higher than New York's, but lower from the current 100 because of the possibility of cost concerns and the affecting affordable housing. So, we were hoping to introduce those 2 amendments, but we did hear from Corporation Counsel that either one would be considered substantial. So, my understanding then is that either we could amend it, and this is a question I think for the BA, either we could amend it now, or I mean, now as in Wednesday, we could amend it Wednesday, and then Wednesday would be considered the first reading ordinance, or we could pull this one and introduce an amended one as a late item Wednesday. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so if it's a non-substantial change, then obviously you can just make the amendment and proceed with the vote for second, for continuing the second reading. If it would be considered substantial, then you would have to, potentially make a floor vote or introduce it, that meeting for a first reading, and then, vote the second reading 4.4 down, and continue in that fashion. So you do a first reading for all the changes, and then following maybe your second, reading, you would vote for the final approval.
Okay. So if we were to get you those changes this evening,
Yeah, you could present them up until the council meeting. So as long as there's a
Okay.
copy in hand for the meeting, for the clerk to read into the record, that would be sufficient to move forward.
okay, thanks. And I want to just state that I also worked with council members Efros and Zupa on this as well. So I guess Tanya or Jake or Tom, if there's anything that I missed or that you feel we should discuss further.
No, thank you, Councilwoman Little. Yeah, appreciate you helping take the lead on this, and thank you, Tanya, for being here. If I can just get a sense of, would there be any objections from council colleagues to us getting these amendments in so that we can be in a position to add this as a late item for a first reading, considering these changes would be substantial? Would there be any objections to doing so? We just don't want to kick the can down the road even further than it's already been kicked down, while making sure that we get in the kinds of amendments that we've been working through with advocates and community members and things.
I think, as the BA explained, Councilperson Efros, the best and the cleanest way to do this, if it is a substantial change, is to introduce a new ordinance with all of those changes that you're looking to implement. And what we'll do is we'll vote that for introduction on Wednesday. And then what we'll do, once we get to this second reading, we will move to defeat it without holding a public hearing.
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess I didn't understand the second part of that.
Sorry,
To
so
defeat it
the
without-
second part of it,
Yeah. Yes.
I don't mean to talk
Okay.
over the council. So the second part of it, because we have a second reading ordinance, right? That we're
Understood.
going to amend. If we introduce the new ordinance, there is no
Yep.
reason to hold a public hearing on that second reading ordinance. So what we'll
Got
do is we'll explain it to the public. I will not be attending the council meeting. My deputy, John Hallinan, will be handling that, but I'm sure he's watching, and he'll have the information to say that because we introduced the new and improved ordinance, we're now going to make a motion to move to defeat this second reading, because it doesn't make sense holding a public hearing on something that is not going to go anywhere.
Understood. I just wanted to get a sense of if there were any objections, and it doesn't sound like there are. If there were any objections to us making sure that as a late item, we can get the new and improved version, so to speak, for a first reading this Wednesday.
Sure.
I just wanted to be clear about that while we're all still on the meeting here.
Yep, because we have to add we're adding another item anyway, so we'll just make that a compound vote to add that second late item. But if we can get that into iCompass, the sooner the better, so then I can add it to the agenda and place it as a late item.
Yep, and just paralleling what Sean said, the sooner that we get the finalized or close to finalized language, the quicker the law department can make a final determination if that language be substantial or not, and require us to go through the process of introducing a new ordinance.
Okay.
I actually did have another question for Director Marioni. We had talked about, seeking sort of a compromise height, because we are hearing from different different people that, you know, there could be a cost impact on affordable housing. There would not be a cost impact on affordable housing production. And, you know, we sought to, you know, kind of split the difference and, you know, set a height of 85 or 90 in case there are cost impacts, you know, to mitigate those. Would either of those be administratively easier for you to handle? Is it better to have it a round number like 90, or does it not really matter?
So at a height of 85 or 90 or 100 or even 75, it is being reviewed by a board most likely. So I think the amount of work that falls on my division would be the same regardless.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Sean, let's move on.
Okay, let me just bring up, can everybody see my screen? Because it is acting a little slow. Can everybody see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Yes.
Okay, great. So on to our public request for a hearing. We have, sorry for the fast scrolling. As of right now, we have 55 speakers, but I believe that is growing. Our petitions and communications, items 6.1 through 6.18. Any questions or comments on those? Hearing none, there are no Office of Communications. Any questions or comments on Report of Directors 8.1 through 8.6? Hearing none, and on to our claims and addendum number 1. And hearing none there, right on to our resolutions. Oh,
Sean, sorry.
sorry.
Sorry, I actually had 2 questions just for clarification.
Yep.
There was a substantial payment to NJCU. That was for our inauguration. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct.
Okay, and then without naming the employee, there was an optical claim for reimbursement. I guess that was a claim submitted when this person was a city employee, right? I mean, it dated obviously in February after the term ended.
Yeah.
I just want, that was just one that came out after the fact.
Correct. If you want, Councilman, we can reach off offline. I can confirm the name of the employee and that information, but that's presumably correct.
Yeah, just 2 questions. Thanks, Peter.
I have a question on the second claim sheet, addendum number 1. It looks like we have a payment to Morton Salt in this set of claims. I'm just curious if is there any update on holding this company accountable for the failure to deliver salt for our first snowstorm in January?
There is 2 updates. One is on this agenda meeting, as you'll see when we go through the resolutions. The other update, because it could involve contract, talks, we might have a better link up offline, councilman, have the law department, speak to you and give the exact update.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Councilman Brooks, Ward B. Looking forward to the resolution to pound salt later on. On claims, is there a way to, from the report that we received, is there a way to distinguish whether these claims are reflective of costs incurred in fiscal year 2025 versus 2026? And then also if funding streams, if some of these claims happen to be paid from grants. I guess that's 2 questions. Thank you.
Not easily, Councilman. If there are specific questions you have about them, and then the finance team can kind of go in depth to provide that explanation. But again, the way the claims are generated come through our financial software, where it's basically coded into the system to upload them into the meeting notes, and they're based on invoices and payments that we make. So it's hard for us to tweak them or provide additional information unless it's part of how the software is coded.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. And then Corporation Counsel, if you could speak to, this is information I learned, our statutory obligation with regard to paying claims and what the potential outcomes are of not paying claims.
Certainly. So claims that you will see on a meeting agenda are claims for services that council has already authorized or the city through some other lawful process has already authorized. And so these reflect basically bills that have come due on things that we have already agreed to pay for. So while council could vote no on these claims, it would not eliminate the underlying obligation to pay those debts. And when we do not pay bills when they are owed, there could be additional potential liabilities that flow from that, including paying interest or even attorney's fees and the costs of litigation in the event that someone decided to sue us.
Thank you. And kind of synthesizing what Corporation Counsel and the VA said. So with the reports that we are provided at this time, we as council members are not able to ascertain if we're approving claims from a previous council's budget. We're also not able to ascertain if there's a variance in the cost budgeted and the bill paid. And yeah, I guess maybe that's more of a statement than a question, just synthesizing what the Corporation Counsel and the VA said. The prosecution rests. Go ahead, Council President.
Okay, if there are nothing else, then we'll move on to the resolutions.
Okay, since I'm not gonna be the judge because that's the council president's job, I'll just be the clerk to the judge and to the council. So on to our resolutions. Item 10.1, City Resolution 26-068 is a resolution recognizing and designating April 2026 as Native Plant Month.
Any questions? All right, next one, Sean.
I was just going to state briefly that we have passed this designating April as Native Plant Month different years. This is just continuing the tradition, and we're doing it at the end of February so that they can have time to put together promotional materials and things like that. And so this is just, it has to be reintroduced every year. So.
What's our native plant? What's our native plant? What's our native plant?
I think Michael's asking if Jersey City has a native plant.
For the country or for Jersey City?
No, we have a lot of native plants. It's a resolution honoring the fact that we should plant native to our region. It's not like it's not like our state or city plant. Although I'm curious what that would be.
Sorry?
No, I was saying,
you were breaking up.
I said I was saying it's not like we don't have a city plant or like the way we have a state plant. I said, although I wonder what that would be.
Right. Yeah, we don't.
So if it would please the council, butterfly weed and New Jersey tea are two of the top native plants for a Google search for Jersey City.
Pleases the council.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Next one, Sean.
Well, these are hard acts to follow. Okay, next is item 10.2, City Resolution 26-069 is a resolution to commemorate the life of Mr. Rudolph Pleasant Jr.
And Mr. Rudolph is a former employee of the Jersey City Free Public Library. Next one, Sean.
Next one is item 10.3, City Resolution 25-070 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City commemorating Lunar New Year and welcoming the Year of the Horse.
Next.
Next, item 10.4, City Resolution 26-071 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City opposing ICE enforcement tactics and urging the New Jersey Senate, the New Jersey General Assembly, and the Governor of the State of New Jersey to advance and enact Assembly Bills A1743, ACA, and in parentheses 1R, A1400, A4300, A4301, and A4302.
I'll just say my office submitted these last two resolutions, so I'm happy to answer any questions that my colleagues have on them.
Okay, Sean.
Okay, just to save time, I'm not going to go back and forth with the cameras. I'm just going to keep it on the agenda if you guys don't have a problem with that. Item 10.6, City Resolution 26-073 is a resolution reappointing Bannon Hill as an alternate member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board.
Everyone, please keep your phones on mute. Any questions on this appointment?
This bitch, she put cologne on so she could be on Zoom.
Okay, no questions. Item 10.7, City Resolution 26-074 is a resolution reappointing James Eacock as a member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board.
Sorry, Tim,
Next
just to ask.
item. Oh, go ahead.
Just to ask this councilman at first, just in general, during these appointments to something like the Rent Leveling Board, are the members of the public in question, Bannon Hill, James Eacock, Sandra Robinson Green, Alexander Hamilton, are they present at the meeting to be able to answer any questions should we have them?
They were, I'm sorry, I don't mean to answer council, if it's council president, if you want to jump in, but they were not asked to be present at the caucus meeting, but if you're asking if you want them to be present at the council meeting?
Historically, they are not, Councilman, if that's your question.
Historically, they have not. Okay.
Thank you, BA. Okay, next is item 10.8, City Resolution 26-075 is a resolution appointing Sandra Robinson Green as a member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board. Next, item 10.9, City Resolution 26-076 is a resolution reappointing Alexander Hamilton as a member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board. Next, item 10.10, City Resolution 26-077 is a resolution honoring Mary Ann Betts McBride on being named the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick's of Hudson County Irish Woman of the Year. Next, item 10.11, City Resolution 26-078 is a resolution honoring Steve Lipsky on being named the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick's of Hudson County's Irishman of the Year. Next, item 10.12, City Resolution 26-079 is a resolution authorizing the payment of a claim submitted by Celco Partnership Verizon Wireless for providing mobile cellular services for the Department of Public Safety.
Any questions?
Yes. I don't know how we're going to take order here.
Go ahead, Councilman Afros, and then we'll bounce back to Councilman LaVara.
I appreciate it. We're just reviewing these bills. It looked like we got adjustments on the bill, and we should be paying a smaller amount under $300,000, but what we would be authorizing is over $300,000 of payment. So I just wanted clarity on what the total amount actually is, because it looks like it should be smaller.
Yes, we have the fiscal analyst here that can answer some questions about this item. Jesse, you're available? Jesse, are you there? All right, well, they reached out to me earlier, so they were here. perhaps having technical difficulties, but I can answer some questions. Let me just pull up the ordinance real quick, Councilman.
Sure, and
Either
I can specify where I'm pointing to. Page 4 out of 49, snapshot of your bill and total amount due $246,145.20 after over $176,000 of adjustments being taken off of the $374,985.12 bill. But what we're authorizing payment for is $359,000 plus. So I'm just curious where the total amount is coming from exactly.
Yes, so the bill in this case was readjusted because some of the fees that they were charging us, we did not find were accurate. So part of the delay in paying this bill was that we did an audit of the bill to verify exactly what was being charged and what was owed to us. So the original bill, if I'm not mistaken, was the 374, and then after the adjustments were applied, that's where it was a negative or the minus 176, and that was audited by our financial analyst that was attached to the Public Safety Department, Jesse. She is on the call, but she's indicating to me that she cannot speak or we can't hear her. So she made it, come out to the audit, found that there's issues with the bill, and that's where the adjustment was received from the $176,000.
So then my question is how do we get from the 246,000 plus number as the total amount due after those adjustments to what we're authorizing in the actual resolution here, which is a sum of 359,000 plus?
So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we have to authorize the potential maximum amount, and then we receive a credit for the remainder of it. I can have Jesse clarify that in a memo to the council as well.
Okay, even though there's a discrepancy between that original 374,000 and the authorizing amount of 359,000. So yeah, I'd love some clarity on these numbers.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah, I'll have to provide a memo to the council just so they know exactly where the differential is coming from. It could have been as well that there may be other bills that were not included in that first snapshot. There might be, additional bills attached, below it that I have to review to ensure that's correct. But I'll have Jesse do a memo to the council just so everyone's aware of exactly what the bill is authorized for, if there's any additional bills, and where the final amount was arrived at for the resolution.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Council President.
Okay, Councilman Lavarro, did you have something?
I did. So Peter, you said an audit has been done of these. Did you say that?
That is correct. Audit in the sense of it has been reviewed by the fiscal officer for the area who noticed some discrepancies and conducted a couple months long report with the Verizon officials to go by invoice and correct the bill to ensure that we're paying the accurate amount.
And who was doing that audit again?
That was a fiscal analyst that was attached to the department, Jasenia. We refer to her as Jesse.
Oh, Jess. Yeah, I know Jesse. So, and no disrespect intended to Jesse, who does a good job. So, but the city used to have an auditing firm or consultant that looked at our utility bills, both telephone and wireless and other PSE&G, maybe, I don't recall exactly. And they were tasked with finding savings and things of, including something like lines, I think that's like phone lines that were not active lines, but they were paying for in some way. So do we still employ that service? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
I am familiar with what you're talking about. I do know we've had them recently. I cannot say definitively right now whether or not their contract has expired or what capacity they're being utilized in. I can get to that answer by tomorrow. I think this might be slightly different though, because I don't think This was not about, about the actual hardware or the utilization. This is more, I think, how they billed us or coded the bills to us. So I'll get you the response. One, do we still use a service like that? What are the, when the contract expired, if it did expire, and then why this would not technically apply to this bill, or if it does apply to this bill.
Yeah. And then, look, I've harped on these things in the last couple of council meetings, these claim resolutions in number 10, in section 10 as resolutions, as opposed to claims in section 9 of the council agenda. And so I don't know, is Bill on the call, Bill Vaquera? He wasn't asked to be.
Yeah, I don't believe he is.
So I'm assuming, and if I can give verification, that when we've talked about our $254 million budget deficit and structural budget deficit, that this is included as part of that. If I can get verification of that, in fact, that's in fact part of the number, right? That was calculated in that.
Yes.
And I'm not looking to, we have to deal with these claims and these unpaid bills that should have gone through, again, just to reiterate these, as I understand it, these claims that come up in section 10 of the resolutions, they weren't authorized by the city council, and so that's why they're kind of coming before us as claims to pay these bills out. So as opposed to coming through as claims in section 9. So again, don't want to kind of beat a dead horse, and I said that in the previous meeting. So just want to make sure that, in fact, now that we've identified these, that it's not going to be a slow trickle of things coming through, and that there are things that are not coming through, that will come through that were not part of the 254 million, and just adding to to that number in some way. So if I could get clarification on that, and just with regard to this particular claim, and any other claim on this agenda, but also with regard to kind of moving forward in the plan to make sure that we just pay all of these things, just throw them all at us in one council meeting, so that we don't have them like coming at, these are 2025 bills, right? So, or earlier. Okay, if that can be discussed with Mr. Vaquera, and just can come up with a plan to that, or give me your response as to how you'll address that moving forward.
Will do, Councilman. I'll discuss it with him.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. I logged off and got back on. This is Jesse.
Okay, all right.
Hi, Jesse.
Hi. I just want to know if you want me to answer the question regarding why the bill is $359,782.22.
Yes, please.
So I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but you guys are seeing a bill that's roughly around 248,000 and change. Am I correct?
246 and change, yeah.
Correct. And there was an additional, so that 248 was covering January through October. And then we had to do request the bills from October to December 31st, which was in reference, I'm going to round it off to like 113,000. And that's why the amount due is $359,782.22.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Jess, if you could too, just can you put that in a quick memo to the council, just so they have the numbers in front of them and the dates in front of them before Wednesday?
I sure will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Peter, can you hear me as well?
Sorry, say that again?
It's Director Baker, Peter. I don't know if anybody could hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Thank you, Director.
Just for Councilman Lavarro, if you remember at the first caucus meeting that I was at, this was that year-long
conversion from AT&T to Verizon. And Jesse and I worked extensively on this. This was probably one of the most complicated projects that we had, and back and forth with Verizon, definitely to ensure that the bills were correct. And yes, we will definitely send the council the information on this. But as I said, this was a year-long project. We didn't know what the numbers were going to be at the end. And that's the reason why this really came into a claim. This claim is definitely not something public safety wants to make a habit of.
Thank you.
I'll just say
Okay.
thank you, Robert, for that clarification.
Welcome.
Okay, Sean, we can move on.
Okay. Jess, if you can just send that memo to me to distribute to the council, I'll be more than happy to do that for you. Item 10.13, Resolution 26-080 is a resolution authorizing to apply and accept a grant award from the United States Attorney's Office, for the District of New Jersey and Gifford Foundation for the fiscal year 2023 Project Safe Neighborhoods Violent Gang and Gun Crime Reduction Program.
Any questions?
I do have some questions. What is the extent of the work of the program? What is the real on the ground kind of role that public safety is going to be playing based on this grant money?
So this grant helps us supplement overtime for gang enforcement and street crime PSN task force that the city has.
Yeah, thank you. What are the specific kind of day-to-day work of that task force?
So I don't want to go into too many details of their operational for public safety reasons. If you want, I can have the director contact you offline to go into specifically what they're tasked with doing, what their day-to-day operations are, and how they function.
Councilman
Okay.
Griffin here. I have a question. Does any of this money touch the on-the-ground organizations that's doing the work within these neighborhoods who are working with and doing violent prevention in our communities, like the nonprofits?
A lot of these grants, Councilman, are set up specifically for public safety with specific spending purposes. I do not believe that they can be, used to supplement nonprofits. I can have the director confirm that to you, but a lot of these have very specific funding and grant reporting responsibilities.
Okay. Let me be a little more specific. Not necessarily supplementing the nonprofit, but just assisting them with the work that they do to assist public safety efforts.
I do not believe any of the grants are or could be used to fund nonprofits in any form. I'd have to have the director confirm that. But it doesn't mean that the gang task force or street crime task force doesn't have a relationship with the nonprofits or couldn't be used to help with the overtime to make sure that RISP is, as functional as possible and supplement as much as possible.
Okay.
Any other questions on
Yep.
1013?
Yes, other questions. Hi, Councilman Navarro. Tell me again, who's administering this grant?
This goes to the Department of Public Safety.
And yes, I'm just going to ask, why is the public safety director not here to discuss this? Is it
because we currently have the snow operation going on, and they have a lot of officers out there that are involved in matters of public safety. So we do not have them on the call right now.
okay? And then in terms of where the money goes, and if you said this, is it basically going to pay for police officers' time?
Yeah, it supplements their overtime.
It's overtime, right? Overtime pay?
That is correct.
Okay, got it. And we've received this grant in the past?
Say again, Councilman?
Is this like a recurring grant or is it,
Yeah, it's recurring in the sense that we're allowed to apply for it every year from the United States Attorney's Office. So I don't think the amount's ever necessarily guaranteed, but we do make recurring requests and receive recurring reimbursements from it.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, Sean, 1014.
Okay, 10.14, Resolution 26-081 is a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application for the New Jersey Department of Agriculture's 2026 Summer Food Service Program.
Questions? Okay, Sean, next.
Okay, item 10.15, City Resolution 26-082 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the submission of an application to the New Jersey Urban Enterprise Zone Authority for the Enterprise Zone Assistance Funds for the Jersey City UEZ Summer Youth Works Program.
And I think that Director Prinzeri and possibly Deputy Mayor Bryant are on the line to assist with this one.
Yep. So good afternoon, Council President and Council members. This is Mira Prinzeri, Executive Director for the Jersey City Economic Development Corporation. Also joined by Florence Barron, our Director of Development, and I believe Deputy Mayor, are you on?
Yep, I'm here. Thank you.
Fantastic. So we are working with the administration to apply for Urban Enterprise Zone funding for a portion of the city's Summer Youth Works Program for approximately 250 students to have internships that are stipend within businesses across the city of Jersey City. This ties back to our 5-year strategic plan, in particular with workforce development and continuing to register more businesses as Urban Enterprise Zone businesses so they can avail themselves of the benefits there and the city can increase the allocation coming in. And now I will hand it over to Dr. Bryant to talk about the scope of the project.
Sure. I think I've spoken with quite a few of you personally or over virtual regarding the program. This is a part of the administration's promise for 1,000 summer jobs. This grant will get us about 250 summer jobs serving youth aged 15 to 24. And the continuum of exposure of jobs is actually from exposure to exploration to potentially jobs that might lead to a direct hire. We will not exceed $900,000 with this grant. This grant is specifically focused on businesses within the UEZ, and all students will receive a stipend of $25.50 for their summer work, which will not exceed 25 hours per week. We're not taking their whole summer, but just quite a bit of it so that they can get some experience and something under their belt. I'm happy to take questions. I think I've fielded quite a few questions or ideas from folks, but also happy to take some.
Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Dr. Brian, Tom Zup, but thank you for reaching out to me this week. I'm sorry we didn't, or last week, I'm sorry we didn't connect. So if I can ask a couple questions. Obviously concerned about the focus being on equity and outreach. So what is the outreach plan so that into certain neighborhoods and certain communities so that we have that kind of opportunity and awareness so that our kids can apply?
I really appreciate that. We actually share that concern and are looking to do quite a bit of inventory of interest for students and matching their interest to the business's needs. We are looking to be as inclusive as possible, ensuring that students from low-income backgrounds and students from all across the city have an opportunity to participate, specifically those within the UEZ. And you probably know that the UEZ actually covers significant parts of the city, not just downtown. So this will actually reach quite far and wide throughout the city.
Thank you.
And
I'm happy
I
to help
should also
coordinate.
note that
I should also note, my apologies. I should also note that we are currently building a marketing plan that is complete with social media and all sorts of other outreach to students via CBOs, nonprofits, the school system, et cetera.
And
Thank you.
this is Mira again, briefly, Councilman. The other piece of that is through the Jersey City Economic Development Corporation. We will also be coordinating closely with our special improvement district managers to make sure that it's spread out across the city as well.
Thank you both, and I'm happy to help coordinate, especially want to make sure we get information out to our public housing buildings in Ward C and throughout the city.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have one. This is Councilman Griffin here. I know that we do have larger corporations that are enrolled in UEZ, like Lowe's, Home Depot. I'm not sure about any financial institutions, but just curious to know, like with the larger corporations, what would be the outreach with them, and will we be expecting to get, will we be looking at like an exact number of people to get hired in these larger corporations?
I'll take that. Councilman Griffin, this portion of this specific grant is focused on organizations within the UEZ, and I believe there are close to 700 businesses within the UEZ, and so we will be reaching out to everyone and anyone inquiring about potentially taking on some students. Additionally, we'll be doing some outreach to see if there are corporations like the ones you named that would be willing to sponsor students outside of the grant and potentially actually sort of sponsor and pay for themselves students that they might want to have. For example, if we were able to get 50 organizations to take on 2 students each, that's another 100 jobs. So that is another prong of the work that is happening simultaneously.
And also, if businesses are currently not registered as urban enterprise zone businesses, all they would have to do is register. The registration is free, and there are benefits to everyone involved to participate in the program. So this will also help with our outreach efforts there.
That's Councilman Navarro. This question, I suppose it should be directed to Mira. Hi, Mira. I just wanted to ask the funding for UEZ. Can you break down kind of how much? And we talked about this, but I'm just putting this all out for the public record as well. That how much UEZ money the city receives, or is it expected to receive, and how much is for this is 900,000? Is that correct? My number, and then how much we've received last year, and it's my understanding that we're not taking anything away here from other past funded programs, although I don't know if that's true, but basically asking to verify that if it's the case or not, and how much we spent there, and on what items we spent in previous budgets, UEZ dollars, and then this year's comparison.
Sure. So to answer one of the questions, this will not jeopardize any other programs or projects we currently have down with the Urban Enterprise Zone Authority. Those are already budgeted for in prior year's allocation for the council as a whole. The process, every year the city is given an allocation based on the number of businesses registered. Because I am working from home today, I don't have all of the specifics with me, but I can certainly reply back to you all via email when I get back into the office and have the numbers in front of me. But last year's allocation, or rather the allocation for fiscal year 26, is just over $7 million. As far as the remainder left over, I don't recall off the top of my head. I can also say that we have no funds that are in jeopardy of being unspent. We are doing a good job of making sure that they will be spent down within the 3-year time period that we have to spend the money from the award letter from the Urban Enterprise Zone Authority. There are 3 years that you have to spend down that full allocation. And it is on a rolling basis. And As far as the other projects go, I will email that out to the city council. We have some that are approved and a couple that are currently pending down with the Urban Enterprise Zone Authority. And we can also get you the dollar amounts on what is set aside for each project. When we submit projects, we add a clause that says spending that will not go over the amount of money that is set to make sure that everything is always coming in at or just under budget. Does that answer most of your questions, Councilman?
Yep, and I'll look to get the right when you send me.
Yeah, and we'll send it out to the full council.
Sure. As additional question, the budget and the information includes a narrative and budget information. It's a couple of pages. Is that the full application to the UEZ, or are there additional documentation related to describing the program?
What you have in the narrative is what will be going into the SAGE system, which is a system the state utilizes for us to submit the application down to the Urban Enterprise Zone Authority. So this is basically the bulk of that. There might be some additional breakdown in line items, but they would fall under the various budget lines here. And then sometimes there is some question and answer back and forth between the Urban Enterprise Authority and the EDC. And we get all those questions back to them in a timely fashion to make sure that it gets on the appropriate agenda to be heard at the state.
Okay. One of the things that, looking at the budget, the program facilitators are $25,000. In terms of how this program will be administered and who's administering it, $25,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money to me to do the actual administration of this program and trying to place students in these. How are we meeting that? And there's what kind of resources are we going to dedicate towards that and to ensure that this program runs well?
Sure. Dr. Bryant, do you want to speak a little bit about the program facilitator administration piece, and then I can tag in as necessary?
Sure. A lot of the administration, and well, most of it will come out of our office, obviously being led by myself. And we are hopeful to work alongside the BA and the Department of Recreation to support some of the administrative pieces. Much of this was run through HR previously. We've already started conversations with them about capacity and the potential of continuing to sharpen the work that has happened there. So we're confident that we want to spend most of the funding on the children. And so we will work internally to ensure that we can administrate with efficiency. We've also put in place some very clear efficiency metrics in the actual grant application. So we'll be doing the best we can with what we have.
I have a quick question, Councilman LeVar, if you don't have a follow-up.
I have additional questions, but you can go ahead, and I don't want to monopolize.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask briefly, Dr. Bryant and I talked earlier about this, but just for the record, Jersey City's minimum wage is $20 an hour. And so understanding that this is about $17 an hour, a bit under Jersey City's minimum wage for public employees. If you can just, for the record, kind of speak to the difference between, what this UEZ program, Summer Youth Works program is going to be offering and our minimum wage as a city. I'd appreciate it.
This program offers $17 an hour to everyone involved from age 15 to 24. That is sort of above the $15.92 for minors. And that is the number that we settled on. When you look at the numbers for recreation and what people are paid in the Summer Works program, we didn't want to create any inequity between students who, are the same age working at the same level. So all the positions are at $17.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilman LeVar.
Yeah, this is not necessarily a question as much as it's a statement, and I suppose it's I had the privilege of talking to Deputy Mayor Bryant earlier about this program, and I just want to get it on the record is that you know, in the past with these kind of summer works programs, we've had the sort of, in my estimation, some inequities around this, right? So the plum jobs at the internships and with the top businesses and so forth were went to some of the best and brightest, which is great, and those students deserve to have those opportunities. But then other students who may not have been at the top of their class or wherever they may have fallen in, that they didn't get to avail of those plum kind of positions or be able to be placed in those opportunities. Certainly, you want to place everybody in areas of their success where they can succeed, and making sure that their skill sets are a good match for the jobs that are available. At the same time, you know, young people are young people, and they grow and learn at different rates and paces. And so, we talked about the idea that it'll be under a Solomon administration, that there'll be equity, and that it'll be equitable, and that there's a desire to see everybody be able to have that. I just want to point out that I recall also with the kind of the Liberty Science High School, the idea that when we did that Liberty Science High School, the city of Jersey City, that it became competitive applications and only kind of the best and brightest. And you know, the idea that you know, we want to, kids develop and mature at different rates, and they learn at different rates, and I'm sure the deputy mayor knows this very well, but we want to make sure that these programs are reflective of that, and being able to give students who have the opportunity, who may not have excelled in their middle school years, and by the time they get to high school and into college, going to there, if they're ready to turn the corner and they're ready to take on that employment opportunity, that they also have that opportunity. So look forward to seeing that. But I'm going to say this with the Solomon administration, which is, and Mayor Solomon, who said, hold them accountable, that there's going to be accountability, because I've witnessed firsthand that I've not seen that sort of equity in Jersey City in the way we administer some of these programs. And I definitely want to see that change, and I'm optimistic. But I'll use this phrase often, which is trust but verify. I ran with Mayor Solomon, and I trust that his intentions here. But I also know that when implementation, when it comes down to implementation, that it doesn't necessarily, the intentions don't necessarily translate into implementation. And so as a councilman, you know, just saying that I'm going to be ensuring to verify this, to ensure that we make it as an equitable program that achieves great success for all of our students throughout Jersey City. That's my high horse. I'm off it now. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
council
understood.
members, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Director Prinzary and Deputy Mayor Bryant. Sean, we can move on to the next one.
Thank you.
Okay, item 10.16, City Resolution 26-083 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing one of 3 renewals of a competitively bid contract with Citivis LLC, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, to provide technical assistance and consulting services to the Division of Community Development with all aspects of HUD grant management and program implementation. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Sean. We've been on for a while.
Yeah, and I have a little bit of an audience laughing in the background with me, so I'm sorry.
That's fine. Council members, any questions on this one?
I do just have a question. Thank you, Council President. Thanks, Sean. Is there a sense of how much we anticipate we can get from Civitas? Is that part of the proposal and the renewal here? And then, I mean, how much have we secured from Civitas in the past
So Civitas does not procure the grant for us. They help us manage the applications to the existing CDBG funding. So the federal government kind of gives a pot of money, so to speak, through HUD funding, whether it be the home program, HOPWA, CDBG, et cetera. And then we have to identify programs to use that funding for, and then to report on them. So they're in compliance in order for us to get credit and reimbursement for all those different funds. So they don't really help, but they're not like a grant write, who's our grant consultant that finds grants for us. They're more our consultants to make sure that we're applying the funds correctly in order to ensure that we get full reimbursement for them and that we're in compliance, so we don't have any, penalties or fees or anything that would be on the hook for.
So that service, I mean, how common is it for that service to be divorced from the service of grant writing itself?
The compliance component of it?
Right. Compliance is usually not part of the grant writing service that we would contract for.
Well, it depends. So grant write, for instance, does both, grant acquisition and compliance for us. But for this one specifically, there is no real acquisition because the HUD gives us a pot of money based on, numerous factors or size, poverty rates, things of that nature. And then we have to manage that money once we've received it. So we do have millions of dollars that we are awarded through HUD. And this is a way to make sure that we're using that money correctly, we're complying with the regulations for it, that we're allocating it correctly. And that way we get the maximum reimbursement, and that we also do not have any fines or penalties that would be associated with projects if they're not, in full compliance.
I see. Thank you for clarifying.
Yep.
I have a question. I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman. Go ahead, Councilman.
Thanks. Peter, is Director Anderson on the call?
I am not entirely sure. I know we sent an invite out to Director Anderson, but I do not know if she's on the call or not right now.
No problem. You answered a question I had too. I was going to ask whether DCD has whether everyone in that office is currently being utilized to the maximum potential. For example, is there someone currently employed by the city that's able to do the work that Civitas would be contracted to do? And again, it's unfair to ask you that question, so maybe we can get Director Anderson the question and answer before Wednesday.
Yep, I'll get you the answer from her. I would add that a lot of the positions for CDBG funding and the DCD are offset with this grant funding. So that office doesn't generally cost the city any money, if at all. However, I think no matter what, the director, and a lot of people in the staff do a good job managing the funding, but it's good to have that professional layer just to verify and act as a reference, any financial consulting services, just to make sure we're in full compliance. But I'll get her to give you a more detailed explanation.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and just to follow up to that question when you ask her to, I just want to make sure that our employees feel like they're being used to their maximum potential. And if they're not, maybe this is an area where they can assist to kind of cut down on us using outside vendors.
Understood.
Hi, Councilman Lavarro here. So when my recollection, again, from my previous stint on this council, was that there were some problems with our CDBG dollars, and that HUD may have been investigating or auditing our dollars and our allocations, perhaps seeking for us to reimburse, and that was kind of an ongoing thing. Just from conversations I've had with folks, I understand that might still be an open issue. There might still be open issues there. That's not clear to me. Can you just, I don't want to talk about matters that might be, that should be maintained confidentiality around, but are there, just speak to the idea of whether we still have open issues there with HUD and our CDBG funding. And maybe if, will this be part of our discussion, maybe to the Corporation Council for our closed session on Wednesday?
So there is a issue being dealt with through the law department, which I think you're probably referring to, Councilman. I do not want to go into full details at this meeting, but they will have an explanation as one of the ongoing issues they're dealing with through litigation available to discuss at that closed session. I will say that, HUD, quote unquote, investigates anyone who receives this money because they control it, very strictly. It has, a lot of compliance with it. So, I don't want to say we're, quote unquote, being investigated. They're always going to review how we spend the money and ensure that we're in compliance with it. There is, a particular issue that we've been dealing with for a number of years with them based on interpretation of certain funding. And the law department can speak to that at the closed session.
Okay. To Sarah, can you confirm that we're going to talk about that in closed session?
We'll either be prepared to address it on Wednesday, or we'll get you a memo in writing within the next week or so. There's no active litigation, so just want to make sure that it's appropriate topic of discussion for a closed session. And if not, we'll get you a confidential memo on any legal issues that might be relevant to this.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Sean, next one.
Okay. Just a reminder, if we're going to go into a closed session, we got to make sure that we have a resolution put together in order to go into closed session.
I think we did that already, Sean.
Sean, that's right.
Oh,
We already have one, so we should be all set for this coming Wednesday. And if there's anything that we're not able to resolve on Wednesday, we'll make sure to get another resolution put forward for another closed session.
I appreciate you both. I have snow fog memory right now. Okay. Item 10.17, Resolution 26-084 is a resolution of the City Council of Jersey City, directing the Planning Board to prepare an amendment or revision to the Journal Square 2060 redevelopment plan.
Yeah,
Questions
Sean.
or comments?
Yeah, sorry, I just want to say this was done in coordination with Councilman Zupa, so he may have a few comments for the item. We also have Tanya, I think he's still available if we need any of the city side to speak about anything.
Thanks, Peter. Happy to have Tanya's input if she'd like to add. This is just an authorizing resolution, so the council needs to authorize the planning board to planning department to look into amendments to our redevelopment plan to expand our affordable housing efforts. Hoping to have something for you that's really good in the coming weeks, working with the administration and with planning, of course.
Questions? Okay, Sean.
Next is item 10.18, Resolution 26-085 is a resolution providing local support for Warrior Weed LLC to operate a Class 5 retail cannabis business.
Questions, comments? Okay, next.
Item 10.19, City Resolution 26-086 is a resolution authorizing the payment of a claim submitted by Millennium Strategies LLC for providing grant consultant services.
Questions?
Just one question. What was the grant amount generated last year? Peter?
Peter, you're
Peter,
muted.
you're on mute.
Apologies. Do you mean the total amount of money that was captured through grants for last year for 2025?
Correct.
I do not have that number offhand. I'd have to ask finance to prepare that. I can get you something.
That's okay. Thank you. Just was curious because if we are paying 50,000 for their services, just want to know how efficient they are.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This is Councilman Effers. I just want to say for the record that Millennium Strategies has donated substantial amounts of money to Jersey City officials and candidates, and I'm just curious if this is an LLC that is up for renewal for. I mean, I know that Civitas is one of 3 renewals, maybe this is a separate kind of grant consultant service. Patterson, New Jersey rejected Millennium for pay-to-play concerns back in 2021. So I'm just curious if Millennium is on the docket for any further service with the city. I think we should scrutinize that.
They are not, and this is not a renewal, nor is there any new renewal options for them in the future. There was a question of pay to play for this particular issue for various reasons. The law department did review it and are comfortable with making the payment going forward.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
My pleasure.
If I may, just as a follow-up to Councilman Efros's, to the law department and Corporation Counsel, can you provide us some primer or guidance, or at least me, on pay to play? I understand the rules have changed since the last time I was on the city council. So any information you can provide me guidance on that would be helpful.
Sure, we can put together like a one-pager if that would be helpful on the procurement rules and the pay-to-play statute as well.
Thanks.
Okay, 10.20. Peter, I believe the law department circulated a memo on this one. I don't know if you want to make a few comments.
Sure, I'll have the law department make a few comments if Sarah is so willing.
I won't. I'll defer to the memo unless there's any further questions. I'll remind that members of the council that memos that are marked as privileged and confidential are provided on an attorney-client basis and should not be shared in a public forum, as that could risk vitiating a privilege that is very important to protect the city's interests. So if there's any non-privileged questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. If there's any questions that implicate legal issues, I will decline to answer them in this forum, but I'm happy to connect offline.
Council members, any questions? Okay, Sean, 10.21.
Okay, item 10.21, resolution 26-088 is a resolution authorizing shared service agreement for the Board of Education of the School District of Jersey City to obtain fuel at the Department of Public Works facility and other services from the City of Jersey City.
Questions?
Fuel for what? Are these like teachers' cars? Are these student buses?
No, this would be for
delivery trucks.
Councilman, this would be for official business of the school. So buses, equipment used in maintaining their properties, things of that nature. And they do it's a shared service agreement, so they're paying for it. They're just paying for through our co-op with administrative fee.
Okay.
And all the services, shared services are mentioned there that we are sharing with them.
Can someone speak to this shared services agreement between the city and Jersey City Public Schools, and how long we've been in this, and has this changed? My recollection was that it was intended to be some sort of cost-saving measure for the Jersey Public Schools because state aid had been cut and things of that nature, and it doesn't appear that that's the case here necessarily. I mean, maybe there was some cost savings, but it seems doesn't seem terribly significant to me.
Well, I can't speak to the cost savings on the Board of Ed's position. We'd have to get them to opine upon that. But essentially what we do is we open up our ability to purchase larger quantities and allow them to tack onto that, things like our rock salt, fuel, things of that nature. And through an executed agreement with this resolution, they can tap into those services. We do ensure that, we are reimbursed and that, to the extent possible, we get administrative fees or anything that may cause additional expenses to the city.
Any other questions?
Just one. Peter, probably a question for you. So the agreement contemplates that things like pothole fixes will be done on demand, quote, on demand. actually all the services are on demand. So can you just go through the process for the school board making a request or demand of the city to fill potholes? I know we have some difficulty from a council perspective trying to get some our potholes fixed. So I just want to know what the order of repairs will be based on our own request as a city versus or in conjunction with the school board.
Yeah, so the city's operations do take precedent, also depending on, availability of, resources, things of that nature. The goal is, to the extent possible, to make it cost effective, the Board of Education to try to share some of our larger resources that may not have ability to do it in-house. So like potholes, that kind of stuff. So the extent possible, most of the streets are our streets. So obviously when I coordinate, when we fix a pothole that's somehow affecting the school, it really, it benefits the city as well. If there's certain conditions inside their facilities, like potholes on their premises, that kind of stuff, obviously it's only available to the extent that our availability and resources, can encumber that and to amend that, and that there's not interfering with our own operations.
Thank you.
Peter, I'll chime in here. John Lynch, since I managed this over the years, the only service they really actually used was filling up the buses with gas. We haven't been asked to do any potholes. Once in a while, a little tree maintenance, and it all had to do with any availability that we had, and then we invoiced them for it. But the only service they really have used over the last 10 years has actually been the school buses, filling them with fuel, which we get reimbursed quarterly on with a 5% administrative fee, as Peter said.
But I'm sure now that we've talked about potholes, we're going to get 1 million of those coming in, but knock on wood.
Yeah, but most of, as you said, that's down on the streets by the schools, and we're already covering those.
You don't do potholes for their like parking lots and things of that nature?
They've never asked for that.
So it's contemplated that we could, Councilman, but again, they would have to request it, reimbursement, and subject to the availability of our, procurement materials, et cetera.
So John, are you the liaison and the one administering this agreement with the Jersey Public Schools?
Yeah, they would reach out to me, and then I would reach out to the department if needed. Like I said, I haven't had to, but then I reach out to the department and see what availability, and they're under the understanding it's whatever resource we have available and when we have them available. The only other one I ever used was the tree service, and they they reached out, and it was a couple weeks later that we got to the help them out with the trees, and then we build them. But other than that, it's been pretty much just gassing up the buses.
And I would like to give the Board of Ed a quick plug and just say thank you to them, because they have been very helpful with a lot of our snow removal and snow operations, and we've had great coordination with their leadership over there. So, to the extent possible, we're always happy to help them because they've been very kind in helping us. And
they also lent us a bus or two when needed.
Oh, look at that. The city and the school working together.
New administration, new day.
Any other
That's my
questions,
line, Peter.
council
Thank you.
members?
I have two questions. One is, how much is the city, I guess, losing on this? Like with the whole, like how much does it cost the city, this partnership? And
None.
and two, okay, and then two is there another way we can barter with them to maybe, they use our services and they allow us to use like their gym facilities at public schools?
We're always open to ways of exploring that. Again, it's subject to their availability to, provide us with either space or materials, and vice versa. So we're happy to have that conversation for any specific question you might have, Councilman, just to see what their availability is.
I appreciate that.
So there was a past shared services agreement. If I can just get a copy of that one.
Sure.
Thank you, John.
Okay, Sean, next one.
Item 10.22, Resolution 26-089 is a resolution authorizing an award of a contract to Atlantic Salt Incorporated for the purchase and delivery of rock salt throughout the cooperative agreement between the City of Jersey City and Hudson County for the Department of Public Works Division of Sanitation.
So I know Councilman Brooks was waiting with bated breath for this one, as well as many of the other council members. So this is basically a reference to a lot of the issues that we had in the first snowstorm, where there's a limited availability of salt and the response times by our current vendor, well, the primary vendor, Morton, should I say, was inadequate for the city's services. Therefore, we're electing to exercise the option to add Atlantic Salt, who is also a respondent to the city services, as our primary vendor. In full disclosure, they are slightly more expensive when it costs per ton, percentage of the salt we would order. However, they are a lot more responsive. They've had a steadier and more predictable delivery for the city. And at this point, those are more beneficial to the city. We do not get rid of Morton Salt. We will still have them as a vendor. It does not cost the city any additional money because we've encumbered a certain amount of money to spend for salt as it is. It's just now we can decide which vendor we want to use, whether it be Morton or it be Atlantic, to address our needs going forward.
Thank you, Peter. My question earlier was just regarding the retroactive, like how do we get any accountability from Morton for having failed to deliver on time when they're supposed to? And I understand this is part of a cooperative agreement with Hudson County. So is that what you're referring to, that should be discussed offline? Or is there anything we can clarify in the public forum here?
Yeah, I think to get the specifics, probably best to discuss that offline, Councilman. I am comfortable saying that, the city has been in talks with the county about the lack of response from the one vendor that we were utilizing. Additionally, we've looked at the contract with the law department to discuss and explore any options we have to recoup any additional costs that we may have incurred based on our agreement with them. So we are exploring our options.
Thank you.
Okay. If no other questions, 1023.
Okay, item 10.23, City Resolution 26-090 is a resolution appointing Talita Alizu as a member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board.
Questions?
Yes, this is a question for all the nominees to the Rent Leveling Board. Will we be provided with their resumes or anything of that nature, like we were for other appointees?
So the resumes, Councilwoman, are attached to the resolutions. If you scroll down, you'll see their appointment letter and their resumes.
They are not there.
They're on
If
the.
they are not,
I haven't.
They're in the packet.
There.
Yeah, I haven't checked the others, but this one is definitely there.
Yeah.
They're on the website as the full agenda packet, not just the agenda.
And for the council edification, we do not put addresses on the resumes anymore. That's in conjunction with change at the state level for Daniel's Law. So just be aware of that. Some councilmen have been here before. They may have noticed them previously, but they're not currently included.
I apologize. I stand corrected. I was looking at the wrong resolution.
if any council member needs, if for some reason you can't see them, just let me know and I can be more than happy to forward the resumes to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. 1024.
Item 10.24, City Resolution 26-091 is, excuse me, a resolution authorizing the award of competitively bid contract to Acacia Financial Group Incorporated for financial advisory services.
So this one, council, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just a quick explanation. So this one is in response to the vote that was taken at the last council meeting regarding NW Financial. Originally, we are under the assumption that if an RFP was recommended by the committee, then that was the one that the council had to vote on. We've had the law department do a little bit of digging. And for this particular type of RFP response, we can go with a different option. So this was part of the original RFP respondents. They were the second highest, I think, selection from the RFP committee. So we were putting them before the council to vote on. Everything else would be the same as the previous council meeting, except which company we were recommending.
Thank you, Peter. I have a question, if that's okay, Council President.
Okay.
So in 2024, this company was fined over $50,000 from the SEC for record keeping concerns. And I know one of the questions that came up with NW was they've been with the city for decades. They have, substantial institutional knowledge. And so now, as we look to get a different contract with a different company, it just seems like a good time to make sure that record keeping and having institutional knowledge preserved as a city, as opposed to just being housed within one company, is really important. So I just wanted to get a sense of the administration's view on the importance of record keeping here, and any assurances we can get in terms of record keeping from Acacia Financial Group should we contract with them.
Absolutely. So I can't speak to the actual FCC fines or the documentation that you saw, Councilman, but I can say, and I'm sure Sean would love to talk about this for hours, but the city has very strict record keeping requirements. Any information, any work they do for us, they are required to provide to us or copies to us. And then the city has its own record keeping retention laws per the state statute. We've always been in compliance, to my knowledge, and Sean and his staff are very on top of that.
Fabulous. Okay. If there's any information we can get between now and our meeting on Wednesday regarding that SEC case, that'd be really helpful in making a final decision. But I appreciate that, Peter. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Any other questions on this one? Okay, Sean.
All right, for the very last resolution, item 10.25, resolution 26-092, is a resolution authorizing the award of a competitively bid contract to Jolt Charge to install and operate electric vehicle charging infrastructure in the city of Jersey City.
Peter, I have a question on this. If you can please clarify.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
So is it going to be free for people to charge because we are getting grants for this?
I do not believe it's free. I think Director Banghart might still be on the call. He might have better details about the program than I can. If not, I'm happy to answer some questions.
So yeah, because
Thanks,
then
Peter. I'm still here.
Okay, so if you can answer this question, please, for me.
Yes, I also have Director Amanda Diamond from the Division of Sustainability on, who was leading the charge, pun intended, on this one. And this will be a fee for these public chargers. They're not free to use for residents. This is a build out. We're trying to bolster our EV charging network throughout the city. And we have went through the RFP process with the competitively bid contract, did a review of all the respondents, and this department felt that Jolt was the most cost-effective and qualified, and they will have a licensing fee involved in this, as well as a per charger fee they will pay to the city.
Okay, because the amount is pretty low. If you think about it, they will be paying $100 license fees and $10,000 for 2 years contract. So I was just curious if it is going to be free for public to use, or some discounted pricing, or what is it that we are offering to public to use? Because I think pricing was pretty
I think I
on lower
can
side.
Good evening, Council. This is Director Amanda Diamond here. I think I can shed a little light on that. So as opposed to privately owned charging stations in New Jersey, and especially Jersey City, public charging access is normally cheaper to some extent. I don't believe that we have a set price for these charging stations that will be offered to the public, but the installation and upkeep and maintenance and software will all be operated and completed at no cost to the city to install these charging stations. So that is the benefit for the city and also the residents.
Thank you, Director.
It seems like part of the business, this is Councilman Efros, it seems like part of the business model here is that they have advertising built in to the charging stations. Clearly this is, you know, a benefit for residents who have electric vehicles or hybrid gas and electric vehicles to be able to use. I am just a little concerned about putting more advertising and commercial space in public places like public parks and things. So I'm just curious if the bid specifies anything around, you know, what advertising would look like, if there are any sounds coming from advertisements in these charging stations, if they are, on the other hand, silent. Is there any specification around how that works?
I don't have those details in front of me, but I can certainly follow up with your office and send you more information based on the bid that they provided us, if that's all right.
Yeah, that'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Hi, this is Councilman Griffin here. So, you know, my wife is in advertising. That's $1 billion industry. So what other community benefits can we expect from these charging stations?
Well, I have one of the big things out of this contract as well will be more information regarding where electric charging is necessary and required and lacking currently in the city. And, you know, I've had, I would say, people reach out to my office and also the Department of Infrastructure about the lack of charging accessibility for electric vehicles. So that's going to be that is the primary focus in installing more charging stations across the city, is creating greater access to that infrastructure.
Okay, so I mean, you know, we're in a deficit here, right? And they're going to be making buku bucks off of advertising. And then, you know, our residents are being charged, and others, people coming from out of town, whoever has electric vehicles, they're going to be charged for charging their cars. So there needs to be some sort of monetary benefit here for the city. I mean, that's just how I feel. I mean, I don't know how. I'm speaking on my behalf. I don't know how my other colleagues feel, but you know, I just feel that if they're going to come in and you know, use our land and you know, advertise to within our communities, then there should be some sort of benefit.
There is Councilman, there is a licensing fee involved in it. I think it's $10,000 a year for the licensing, and then a per charge fee or per charger installation fee. So there is a benefit to the city there. It's also at no cost to the city. So given the deficit we are facing, that's also something that we looked at, and also the ongoing maintenance for the chargers. It's something that we've faced in the past with the current charging units that we have out on the street. They do require a lot of maintenance and just the downtime associated with those and the public not being able to access them.
Okay, so then okay, so if I'm charging my vehicle and I'm paying, who am I paying? Am I paying the city or this company?
You would be paying the company through their app that they have set up.
Okay, so maintenance is not free. They're just taking care of their revenue generating property. They're maintaining.
Correct. The burden of the maintenance isn't on the city as it has been in past EV charging contracts.
Yes, so Councilman, maybe to elaborate on this one too, this is through an RFP, which is a public bid. So generally what the city does is they will design a bid that has some general, specifications. We want X amount of items added to the city.
Okay.
We want, this vision, whatever the kind of the general specs are. We put that out there and then any company can bid upon it. And to the extent we're kind of at the mercy of their responses. So if we get 3 or 4 bids, I think it's 3 in this case, and all of them say, we're not going to, provide you X amount of dollars per year. There'll be some kind of, usually monetary value to us, but we can't really kind of negotiate and go beyond that with them unless we want to rebid it. But again, we're subject to the respondents of the market. So if people don't bid or if companies aren't willing to kind of create that cost benefit to the city, we can't necessarily mandate it.
I got you, but Peter, can I say this? Like in the future, like when we put bids out and we're working with companies like this who will not only benefit from their products but from other products as well, like advertising or because they're coming in, they're going to be charging other people, and we're not going to be able to touch any of that revenue. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree. It really kind of depends on what items we're discussing. Like the city does have, I call them a kiosk for lack of a better term, but those kind of like public advertising things that you'll see in front of city hall or that kind of stuff. Those bids, because it's very focused on the marketing of that they have a better benefit or a payment plan for the city than this infrastructure, which is more focused on the actual charging infrastructure and increasing that throughout the city. So I would say, Councilman, yes, you're correct, and that is obviously always a focus for us, especially given the current financial situation we're in. But it really depends upon what we're trying to procure for the city, and we have to kind of couch that bid to kind of fit those specifications. If we're trying to find a service for the city that we think is lacking, it may not focus as heavily on the financial benefit to the city, whereas there could be ones that are more marketable in a financial sense. We can push for more of that from the respondents.
All right, thanks.
My pleasure.
And just Peter, just FYI, it's cost $30 to $45 to charge your car fully. So I'm just calculating if so this company is going to make decent amount of money. So I don't know if we decide, just a food for thought, if we decide to do it in-house, it would be really beneficial for city. I don't know if possible or not, just sharing that. Thank you.
We'll consider it. I don't know, to be honest, I don't know if we have the capability to manage that, like a project of that size right now. But it's something worth exploring.
Peter and Council, I just want to add that the term is 2 years on this contract. So if it's something that is underperforming, we could choose not to go with the renewal options that are built in.
Yeah, thank you, Director, and thank you, Peter. Final thoughts on this would be one, if we can also just get a list of locations where we would expect the charging stations to be set up, and also if they would have any bearing on the current charge point locations that we have. For instance, in Riverview Park, we have one that's, half of the charging station is perennially broken. So yeah, would there be any bearing on the charge point contract we have?
Thanks,
I'd have free-
Councilman. We'll be in touch about locations. Part of the RFP was to kind of build out a master plan of what locations are in underserviced right now, and then where we could install more to better fortify our network. And there is a component to swap out the existing charge point stations if we please. So that's something that was also contemplated in the RFP. But we'll touch base with each council member. It's going to be citywide, and before any final decisions are made about location, we'll work with each office before we put all those plans into effect.
Thanks so much.
Okay. And so like, all right, so you're saying it's a 2-year contract. So if we do not renew with them, what happens with the infrastructure? Do we keep it? Do they remove it? How does that work?
I'm going off the top of my head, and maybe Director Diamond does have the information. I believe this vendor that we did recommend would remove those stations.
If I remember correctly, this vendor, because that was a part of the RFP, is that they had to identify or specify what would happen at the end. We have an option for either purchasing the charging station's infrastructure outright and then operating or completing with the maintenance and the service requirements ourselves, or we could have them remove the charging station. So there's an option for either or.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Councilman Navarro. Some simple ones. Can I get a copy of the bid and the contract itself? I don't see it on my resolution. I don't see the contract, at least. And then get a list of who else bid on the contract, what they offered. And then also if we can get some sort of summary about how much we got from previous contracts. So we have other contracts with, or is Volt the only one that we've done business with? Because we have EVs in public spaces all over the city. If we can get those contracts and get a sense of what the numbers there were, so we have something by comparison to look at. Councilwoman Singh brought up the idea of, is it free? It wasn't clear to me. So people are paying when they go there, right? Can you just confirm that, or is there a free component to this, that there's free charging?
No, they're paying.
Paying? Is that from the administration, or is that's Councilman?
It's for a fee, Councilman.
For a fee, okay. Have we done business with Volt in the past?
To my knowledge, this is our first venture, or potentially our first venture with them. Previously, we have only engaged with ChargePoint, and that was through a third party that was LilyPad, and they did not even put in response to the RFP this time around.
You mentioned that doing some sort of plan on EVs, and do we have one, or is that still something in the works to be done?
This is something in the works, and that's in the RFP itself, was to assist us in creating a map or a master plan, for lack of a better term, of where we should start to site these chargers.
And so Volt is going to help us do that?
Correct.
And how do they help us, given?
The RFP stipulates that they're going to prepare the plan itself. So, just through conversations with us, and then obviously each council person's office and the administration will come up with a plan of what they feel is underserviced and what infrastructure feels as underserviced areas, and put that plan together to present to you.
So the plan is kind of a plan of locations, as opposed to.
Correct.
Do we have any from the past contracts, utilization rates for all of these charging stations?
For the current charge point stations, yes, I believe we can get utilization rates.
Can we get some of that information?
Yes, I believe, Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the dashboard, we can ascertain that.
I believe so.
With this contract, and I'm rushing through this because we're at the end here, but with this contract, how many charging stations are we looking to install throughout the city?
Amanda, I think it's a minimum of 12, correct?
Minimum of 12. The RFP stipulated that it could be up to 125. This option that we're going with is 25 charging stations, evenly spread amongst the wards of Jersey City.
And so go ahead, Councilman.
No, I was just going to ask, is that 25 per ward?
No, 25 overall.
So, okay. So like 4 stations per ward.
Sounds like the right math.
Any other questions?
No.
Just one. Has a study been done? Like, do we know the number to be anticipated? Like, how many cars are going to charge annually? Is there any estimate?
I haven't seen any study specifically stating the number of cars that would be charged. It is a common theme, you know, in our office that we get requests for additional facilities. So it is an area of need.
Okay.
Just when you give me that information, this is Councilman Navarro again. When you provide the information, I just requested if I'm particularly interested in, I think the first one or one of the first ones was that, I forget which street it was, but it's near O'Hara's. And there's like an entire block of like EV stations. And they're all lined up there. And I assume just like those EV stations that the rules would be that only EV cars can park there. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I believe the location you're speaking about is likely 2nd Street, which was
Sounds right.
a private licensing, I think, of the right of way. It wasn't anything like we're presenting in front of you today.
It's not. Okay.
Okay. Sean?
All right. I'm going to ask the magic word. I have a motion to adjourn at 6:50 p.m. by Councilperson Griffin. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Navarro. All in favor of the motion to adjourn at 6:50 p.m. All council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
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 We are out of here at
Sean?
6:50 p.m. Yes.
Oh, that's shorter.
Well, we already voted to stop it, but I asked you that there's a second resolution we want to present. It's going to be a late item, but I just want to give the council 5 minutes of an introduction of it if they are so willing to wait.
Go ahead, Peter.
All right.
Yeah,
So there's going to be a resolution for transitional aid. Part of the plan, as you know it, the mayor's made public, is that we are requesting support from the state to help us with our financial crisis that we are currently in. So part of that is we have to submit an application to the state. It'll be due the 27th. And as part of the application, we have to make a resolution by the council just, certifying that they agree to requesting that aid from the state. So we will upload that resolution. I believe it's complete. It just needs to be put through iCompass. It will be a late item that will need council approval. It's very short. It's basically what I described is essentially what I asked for. But I'll have that up tonight with you, Sean, if possible, just so the council has much time to read it. and review it. And then I plan to introduce that at the council meeting on Wednesday.
When will we get a copy of this resolution?
You are. That's why I said I'm going to have Sean upload a copy of it. It wasn't done until today. So I'll have Sean upload it as soon as possible. Like I said, tonight, hopefully. And then you have as much time as possible to review it.
It's one page, if that makes anyone feel better.
It doesn't.
I didn't think it would.
But
Okay.
you know, to that effect, we would require it if we're going to ask the state for money or, you know, for assistance. I don't want to say necessarily money, but we ask the state for assistance. We need to have that resolution by the council before the 27th for our application.
Okay. Thanks, Peter.
All right,
Just
thank
get-
you, everyone.
You know, just get that over to the council as soon as you can so we can review it.
Yep, will do.
Okay, since I already asked the motion for adjourn, I'm not going to ask it again. Thanks, Peter. Again, I wanted to thank everyone for their patience during this process. This was a long time since we had a virtual meeting, so appreciate everyone's patience watching at home and everyone that participated. Again, remember, stay safe out there, be careful traveling, and have a great rest of the night.
Thank you all.
All right, have a good
Good night,
one.
everyone.
See you Wednesday.
Thank you.
Oh, what are we doing Wednesday?
Meeting
First-
in person.